He spent 6 years hunting the Phantom Wolf, the legendary shifter who slaughtered an entire rogue army to save his life, then vanished into the mountains. Dante Ashford, the most feared alpha on the West Coast, has billions in the bank and an army at his disposal. But he can't find the one woman who matters. He's become cold, bitter, paranoid. So when he hires a fragile, mute servant named Kira to clean his penthouse, he doesn't spare her a second glance. He treats her like furniture. He doesn't know that the scar on her neck is the reason she can't speak. He doesn't know that the woman scrubbing his floors is the very legend he's been hunting. And he certainly doesn't know that the assassins are coming back tonight. The rain in Portland didn't wash things clean. It just made the grime slicker. Dante Ashford stood by the floor-to-ceiling glass of his penthouse office, city lights reflecting in his dark amber eyes. He took a sip of whiskey, the burn doing nothing to settle, the agitation in his chest. "Fire her," Dante said, his voice a low rumble. Marcus, his beta and head of security, sighed. "Dante, that's the 4th housekeeper this month. She left her scent on my sheets. She touched the files on the desk. She lingered." Dante turned around, his tailored suit unable to hide the predatory tension. "I don't pay them to linger. I pay them to be invisible." Dante was a man haunted by a ghost. 6 years ago, during the massacre of Iron Ridge, he'd been cornered by a splinter cell of rogues. Bleeding out, his pack scattered. Then she appeared. A silver wolf, faster than anything he'd ever seen, moving like smoke. She tore through 25 rogues in under a minute, shielding his broken body with her own. He remembered the sound of her whimper when a silver blade caught her throat. Then she was gone. He'd spent every day since trying to find her. He needed to know if she survived. He needed to know why a stranger would sacrifice herself for him. "I'll find a replacement," Marcus said, checking his tablet, "but the agency is running out of candidates." "I don't care. Find someone who does the job and keeps their mouth shut. I don't want to hear them. I don't want to smell them. I want a ghost." 2 days later, Kira Vale stood in the service elevator of the Ashford Tower. She wore a gray uniform 2 sizes too big, swallowing her slender frame. Her hair, dull brown, was pulled back in a severe bun. No makeup. Head bowed. She clutched her cleaning caddy with white-knuckled intensity. "You shouldn't be here," her inner wolf whispered. Weak, thready. Her wolf had been dormant for years, ever since the injury. Kira touched the high collar of her uniform. Beneath the fabric, a jagged scar traversed her throat. A souvenir from a silver blade. The blade that had saved Dante Ashford. She wasn't the legendary Phantom Wolf anymore. She was just Kira. Broken. Mute. Wolfless. The silver poisoning had destroyed her vocal cords and severed her connection to shifting. She was stuck in human form, weak, vulnerable. She needed the money. Her sister Mia was sick in a private clinic in California, and the bills were astronomical. Working for the most powerful alpha in the city was dangerous, but the pay was incredible. "He won't recognize you," she told herself. "You were a wolf then. You're a shadow now." The elevator dinged. Marcus was waiting. "Kira Vale?" Kira nodded once. "The agency mentioned your condition." Marcus gestured to her throat. Kira pulled a small notepad from her pocket and wrote, "I listen. I clean. I do not speak." Marcus looked her over. She smelled like nothing. Just cheap soap and bleach. No shifter pheromones. Human, he thought. Good. Dante hated the smell of other wolves in his sanctuary. "Rules are simple," Marcus said, walking her into the massive living area. "Mr. Ashford values privacy above all. You clean when he's out, or rooms he's not in. Don't make eye contact! Don't touch papers in his office. Never enter the West Wing. That's his private gym." Kira nodded. "He's in a meeting now. Start with the library. Dust. Don't rearrange." Kira moved to the library. As she dusted mahogany shelves, she felt vibration in the floor. Heavy alpha footsteps. Dante walked in, talking on his phone. He didn't look at her. To him, she was furniture. "I don't care what the council says, Victor," Dante snarled into the phone. "I want the northern border locked down. The rogues are moving again." Kira froze, her back to him. Victor Kane, the man who'd orchestrated the attack 6 years ago. He was still out there. Dante hung up and threw his phone onto the leather couch, raking a hand through dark hair with a frustrated growl that would send a normal human running. Kira didn't run. She continued polishing the lamp, rhythm steady. Dante paused. He looked at her back. Usually humans smelled of fear around him. This one smelled of lemon. Polish. "You," Dante said. Kira stopped, turned slowly, eyes on his shoes. "You're the new one." She nodded. "My beta tells me you can't speak." She nodded again. Dante stepped closer, massive, radiating heat and power that made her skin prickle. He tilted his head, sniffing. "Why aren't you afraid?" Kira's heart hammered, but she kept her face blank. She wrote on her pad, "Fear is loud. I am quiet." Dante stared at the note. For the first time in months, curiosity sparked in his eyes. "Keep it that way," he muttered and walked out. Kira let out a breath she didn't know she was holding. He hadn't recognized her. She was safe, but seeing him up close, seeing the exhaustion etched into his features, she felt a dangerous pang of the old instinct. The instinct to protect him. 3 weeks passed. Kira became a ghost in the penthouse. She learned Dante's rhythm. Black coffee at 6 a.m., hours staring at holographic territory maps. Less than 4 hours sleep a night. She also learned he was suffering. One evening, a storm battered the glass walls. Kira was in the kitchen preparing late dinner. Dante often forgot to eat. She was chopping vegetables with precision and speed no untrained human should possess. She heard the elevator chime. Dante stumbled in, supported by Marcus. "Get the medical kit!" Marcus barked into his comms. Kira dropped the knife and stepped into the hallway. Dante was pale, sweating profusely, his white shirt soaked in blood at the shoulder. "Silver bullet," Marcus was saying, panic in his voice. "Lodged near the artery. We can't move him to the clinic. The toxin's spreading too fast." Kira's eyes widened. Silver, the weakness of all wolves. If not removed immediately, it would burn through his system, preventing healing. Marcus laid Dante on the couch, groaning, eyes rolling back. "It burns." "I'm not a surgeon, Dante," Marcus yelled, tearing the shirt open. The wound was black and fizzing. Kira didn't. She moved. She pushed past Marcus. "Hey, get back!" Marcus shouted. Kira ignored him. She dropped to her knees beside Dante, examining the wound. She knew exactly what this was, a hollow point round filled with liquid silver. She grabbed Dante's wrist. His skin was burning up. He blinked, focusing hazily on her. "You." Kira grabbed high-proof vodka from the bar and poured it over her hands. Then she looked at Marcus and pointed to a silver letter opener on the desk, then to the lighter in Marcus's pocket. "You want to operate?" Marcus asked, incredulous. "You're a maid?" Kira snatched the lighter and opener, sterilizing the blade with flame. Her hands were steady. Rock steady. Dante gripped the leather cushions. "Let her!" he gasped. "Do it!" Kira placed a hand on Dante's chest. For a second she let a microscopic amount of her own energy flow into him to stabilize his heart. His eyes snapped to hers. He felt it. A hum. A familiarity. She worked fast. With precision that spoke of battlefield triage, she widened the wound and dug for the bullet. Dante roared in pain, claws extending, shredding the couch. Kira didn't flinch. She moved with his body, anticipating the spasms. Clink. The bullet dropped into a glass bowl. Kira grabbed a towel and pressed down, signaling Marcus to apply salve. Marcus stared at her, mouth agape. "Where did you learn that?" Kira stood, hands covered in alpha blood. She didn't answer. She wiped her hands, bowed her head, and retreated to the kitchen. Dante lay panting, color slowly returning as natural healing kicked in now that the silver was gone. He stared at the ceiling, then turned toward the kitchen door. "Marcus," Dante whispered. "Yeah, boss." "Did you see how she moved?" "Yeah. Steady hands." "No." Dante narrowed his eyes. "She anticipated my shift before I made it. She held me down when I was thrashing. A human girl shouldn't have that strength." "Adrenaline," Marcus suggested. "Maybe." Dante sat up slowly, wincing. "Run a deeper background check on Kira Vale. I want to know where she came from. Check security footage from tonight. You think she's a spy?" "I think," Dante said, looking at the blood on his hands, "she's more than a mute maid." In the kitchen, Kira leaned against the refrigerator, trembling. Contact with his blood had stirred her wolf. She could feel the itch in her gums, the desire to shift. But the scar tissue on her throat burned, a harsh reminder of her limits. She'd exposed herself, shown competence. That was dangerous. She pulled out her phone and texted the clinic. Processing payment for Mia tonight. Keep her safe. She had to stay. She had to be more careful. The next morning, the dynamic shifted. When she brought Dante's coffee, he didn't ignore her. He sat at the table, a file on the phantom wolf open in front of him. A blurry photo of a silver wolf, mid-leap on the screen. "Thank you for last night," Dante said, voice smooth, calculating. Kira placed the coffee down and nodded. "You have medical training?" Kira hesitated. She wrote, "My father was a field medic." "I watched. Half-truth. Her father was a pack healer." Dante studied her face, looking for something. "You saved my life. I owe you a debt." Kira shook her head rapidly. "No debt. It's my job. It's not a maid's job to dig bullets out of an alpha." Dante stood, towering over her. He reached out with shocking gentleness and touched the high collar covering her neck. Kira froze. If he lowered the collar, he'd see the scar. The distinctive, jagged scar matching the report of the wolf found 6 years ago. His fingers brushed the fabric. "What happened to your voice, Kira?" She couldn't breathe. She stared into his amber eyes, pleading silently. Suddenly, the intercom buzzed. "Sir?" Marcus's voice cut through the tension. "Victor Kane is in the lobby. Says he has information about the rogue attacks. Demanding to see you." Dante's face hardened instantly. Tenderness vanished, replaced by ruthlessness. He dropped his hand. "Send him up." He looked at Kira. "Stay in the room. Serve drinks. I want a witness who goes unnoticed." Kira nodded, knees weak. Victor Kane. The man who'd caused her scar. The man who'd recognize her scent if she wasn't careful. She retreated to the bar corner, making herself as small as possible. The elevator opened, and Victor Kane walked in. Sleek, serpentine, smelling of expensive cologne and rot. "Dante," Victor smiled, teeth too white. "You look terrible. Heard you had a little accident with a sniper." "Just a scratch," Dante said, sitting behind his desk. "What do you want, Victor?" "I want a truce." Victor prowled around the room, stopping near the bar, near Kira. Kira kept her head down, polishing a glass. Victor sniffed the air, frowned. He leaned close to Kira, invading her space. "Who is this?" Victor asked, voice dripping with false charm. "Haven't seen this one before. She smells remarkably boring." "She's the help, Victor. Leave her alone," Dante warned, low growl in his voice. Victor didn't back off. He grabbed Kira's chin, forcing her to look up. "Pretty eyes, though. Haunted. I like haunted things." Kira stared into the eyes of the monster who'd ruined her life. Rage, hot, blinding, flared in her chest. For a split second, her control slipped. A low, guttural vibration started in her chest. Not a human sound. A growl. Victor froze. released her chin and stepped back, looking at her with sudden suspicion. Did she just growl at me? Victor laughed nervously. Dante stood. Get out, Victor. Victor looked from Kira to Dante. Dawn realization crossed his face. Interesting. Very interesting. He headed for the elevator. Watch your back, Dante. The Phantom Wolf isn't the only one with secrets. As the elevator closed, Kira collapsed against the counter. Dante was looking at her. He'd heard the sound too. Kira, he said quietly, who are you really? For the next week, atmosphere in the penthouse was suffocating. Dante stopped going to the office. He moved his command center to the living room, watching Kira as she moved through the space. She was maddeningly perfect. Efficient, yes, but also predatory. She never turned her back to the door. She tracked birds outside with hunter's sharpness. On Thursday, the test began. Dante was in his private gym, the Forbidden Zone. He left the door deliberately ajar. He was rehabbing his shoulder, shirtless, attempting to lift a heavy dumbbell. He groaned, the weight slipping. It crashed to the floor. He waited. 10 seconds later, Kira appeared in the doorway. She wasn't supposed to be there. But she stood clutching fresh towels, eyes wide with concern. Get out, Dante growled, testing her. I didn't call for you. Kira didn't leave. She dropped the towels and walked toward him, steps deliberate. She stopped 2 feet away, pointing to his shoulder, then mimicking a massage motion. I don't need a massage from a maid, Dante sneered. I need a healer. Kira rolled her eyes, a spark of defiance that surprised him. She walked to the medkit, pulled out muscle-relaxing gel, arnica and Wolf's Bane trace, a blend only shifters used, and returned. She held up the tube. I can help. Dante stared. You know what that is? She nodded. Fine, he challenged. Do it. He sat, turning his back. He felt her hesitate. Then cool fingers touched his burning skin. The moment skin met skin, electricity arced through Dante's spine. Not static. The pack bond. Recognition. His wolf, usually dormant, suddenly paced inside his chest. Sniffing. Her. Safe. Kira worked the gel into his shoulder. Her hands were small but deceptively strong, finding knots with unerring accuracy. Dante closed his eyes, head dropping forward. You have strong hands for someone who just dusts shelves. Kira didn't answer, just kept working. My beta couldn't find a birth certificate for you, Dante said softly, voice dangerous. Kira Vale, a Jane Doe, a ghost. Kira's hands faltered for a fraction, then resumed. He found a record of you working in a diner in Nevada 3 years ago. But before that? Nothing. Like you fell out of the sky. He turned suddenly, catching her wrist. Kira gasped silently. They were inches apart. He could see gold flecks in her brown eyes. Could smell cheap soap masking something beneath. Winter air and pine needles. Forest scent. Who are you hiding from, Kira? He whispered. An ex? The law? A pack? Kira's heart hammered like a trapped bird. She wanted to tell him. God, she wanted to. I'm the one who dragged you through the snow. I'm the one who lost my voice screaming for them to stop hurting you. But she couldn't. If he knew she was the Phantom Wolf, he'd try to use her to fight Victor. And she couldn't fight. Not anymore. A broken weapon was useless to an alpha. She gently pulled her wrist, free, and picked up her notepad. I hide from memories. Please, I just want to work. Dante read the note. Raw vulnerability in her eyes made his suspicion waver. Maybe she wasn't a spy. Maybe she was just another broken soul. Fine, Dante sighed, standing. But we're going out tonight. You're coming with me. Kira blinked. Me? Annual pack gala at the Portland Plaza. Marcus is running perimeter security, which means I need a personal attendant inside. Someone to hold my coat, fetch drinks, ensure my glass isn't poisoned. He looked her up and down. We need to get you a dress, Can't go looking like that. The shopping trip was a blur of boutiques. Dante simply pointed. That one. Sapphire blue. Backless. And heels. High ones. When Kira stepped out of the dressing room that evening, Marcus actually dropped his tablet. The dress was fluid sapphire silk clinging to her curves. The back was open, revealing smooth, pale spine. Her hair, usually severe, cascaded in soft waves, over one shoulder. But most striking was the velvet choker Dante had given her. Thick sapphire ribbon completely covering her throat, hiding the scar. Dante walked in, adjusting cufflinks. He stopped dead. He walked a slow circle around her. "Acceptable," he murmured, though his eyes burned with heat that said, "Stunning." "The choker stays on," Dante commanded. "It matches." Kira touched the velvet. She knew he wasn't doing it for fashion. He hated looking at imperfections. Or so she thought. "Let's go," Dante said, offering his arm. "Remember, you're mute. You're invisible. You observe." "I'm always observing," she thought, taking his arm. The grand ballroom was dripping with crystal and malice. This was the social event for the West Coast Pack Coalition. Really just thinly veiled posturing and threats. Alphas from San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Phoenix clinked champagne while sizing up each other's jugulars. Kira walked half a step behind Dante, clutching his spare, comms and a flask of whiskey. The noise was overwhelming. To a wolf with sensitive hearing, the chatter was a roar. But Kira focused on heartbeats. Thump thump, calm, thump thump thump, nervous. Thump, pause, thump, liar. She scanned the room. Victor Kane stood across the dance floor with rogue sympathizers. He looked at Dante, raised a glass, smirked. "Stay close," Dante murmured, sensing tension. "Don't accept drinks from anyone." A waiter approached with crab cakes. Kira intercepted, sniffing subtly before nodding to Dante. "Clean." "You're good at that," Dante noted, taking one. "Almost like a poison taster." Suddenly, lights dimmed. The High Council Elder took the stage to give a keynote about unity. The room fell silent. Dante stood near a marble pillar, body tense. Kira stood in his shadow, eyes darting to the balcony level. A movement. A flash of light. Not camera. Scope lens. Kira didn't think. The instinct that had saved Dante 6 years ago overrode. Fear. She didn't have her voice to scream, "Sniper!" She didn't have her wolf form to tackle him. She had a silver serving tray she'd taken from a passing waiter. Crack! The silenced shot was barely audible. Kira threw herself in front of Dante, swinging the tray up like a shield. Clang! The bullet struck the tray, denting it inward, knocking Kira backward into Dante's chest. Impact bruised her ribs, but the bullet didn't penetrate. "Get down!" Dante roared, tackling her to the floor as chaos erupted. Screams filled the ballroom. Wolves began shifting, fur bursting through tuxedos. "Marcus, balcony, north side!" Dante barked into comms, dragging Kira behind the pillar. He looked at her, eyes wild. She was gasping, clutching the dented tray. "You?" Dante stared at the tray. "You saw it. How did you see it?" Kira shook her head, terror in her eyes. She pointed to the exit. "Not yet," Dante snarled. He pulled a handgun, Desert Eagle .50 caliber. "Stay here!" He moved to step out, but 3 men in tactical gear dropped from ceiling cables, landing between them and the exit. They weren't ordinary hitmen. They moved with jerky, unnatural speed. Ferals. Wolves injected with adrenaline and rage serum. Dante fired twice. One went down, chest exploding, but the other 2 lunged. Dante engaged the first in hand-to-hand combat, blur of strikes and wolf strength. But the second feral bypassed him, heading straight for Kira. The feral, foaming jaws, claws extended, leaped at her. Kira was cornered. She had no weapons. She was in heels. "Let it out," her mind whispered. "Let the ghost out." She didn't shift. She couldn't. But she accessed the flow. As the feral swiped at her throat, Kira dropped into a split, claws raking air where her neck had been milliseconds before. She used momentum to spin, sweeping the feral's legs with a kick that cracked bone. The feral hit the ground but scrambled up instantly. He lunged again. Kira grabbed a heavy, crystal magnum of champagne from the overturned table. She didn't swing wildly. She waited. She baited him. When he opened his guard to bite, she drove the bottle base into his solar plexus, collapsing his diaphragm. As he doubled over, wheezing, she delivered a spinning heel kick to his temple. Pure, disciplined violence. A move requiring years of training. The feral dropped, unconscious. Kira stood, chest heaving, sapphire dress slit up the thigh from the force. She smoothed her hair, face a mask of cold detachment. She looked up. Dante was standing over his attacker's body. He wasn't looking at the threat. He was looking at her. He'd seen it. The stance. The efficiency. The phantom wolf's signature fighting style, using environment, using momentum, never wasting energy. The ballroom cleared as security swarmed in. Marcus ran up, flanked by guards. "Dante, target down on balcony. We're clear. We need to move." Dante didn't answer. He walked toward Kira. The air between them crackled with terrifying intensity. "Who taught you to fight like that?" Dante asked, voice shaking with suppressed rage and adrenaline. Kira stepped back, fear returning. She shook her head. "Don't lie to me," Dante roared, causing nearby guards to flinch. "That wasn't self-defense class. That was special forces. That was—" He stopped. He looked at the velvet choker around her neck. "Dante, we have to go," Marcus urged. "Police are 5 minutes out." Dante ripped his arm away, keeping eyes on Kira. "Get the car. Bring it around back. Now." He grabbed Kira's hand, grip bruising. "And you? You're coming with me. And you're going to start talking. Voice or no voice." The ride back was silent. Deadly silent. Dante drove the Maybach himself, aggressively fast through rain-slicked Portland streets. He took corners at 60, tires squealing. Kira sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window. She knew it was over. The charade was done. She prepared for inevitable rejection. He hunted the phantom wolf to thank her? No. Powerful men like Dante hunted loose ends. He probably wanted to know why she'd left him, or felt insulted a female had to save him. The elevator to the penthouse felt like a funeral procession. When doors opened, Dante marched into the living room and threw his jacket on the floor. He poured 2 glasses of bourbon, downed one, left the other on the table. "Sit," he commanded. Kira sat on the sofa edge, hands folded. Dante paced in front of the window, city lights framing his silhouette. 6 years ago, Dante began, voice devoid of emotion. I was left for dead in Iron Ridge. My team was gone. 3 bullets in me. I was waiting for the end. He turned to face her. Then a silver wolf appeared, smaller than males but faster. She fought like a demon. She saved me. And when the threat was gone, I reached for her. I wanted to help. She was bleeding from the throat. Kira closed her eyes. She could still feel phantom pain of the silver blade slicing her vocal cords. She ran, Dante said. She left me. For 6 years I've looked for her. Checked every pack registry, the rogues, the graveyards. He walked toward her, stopping inches away. He knelt so they were eye level. Why did you run, Kira? Kira's eyes snapped open. Tears pooled in them. Dante reached out. His hand trembled. He moved fingers to the velvet ribbon around her neck. Kira flinched, hand coming up to stop him. Don't, Dante whispered. Don't hide from me anymore. Please. The please broke her. She lowered her hand. Dante undid the clasp. The velvet fell away. There it was. Ugly, jagged, keloid scar running horizontally across her throat. Mark of brutality. Mark of silence. Dante stared. He didn't look disgusted. He looked devastated. He traced the scar line with his thumb, touch feather light. Victor Kane did this, Dante said. Not a question. That's why he recognized your scent. That's why you almost shifted when he touched you. Kira nodded, a single tear escaping. Dante leaned his forehead against hers. You're the Phantom Wolf. You're the one who saved me. Kira pulled back, reaching for her notepad. She wrote frantically, I'm not her anymore. I'm broken. No voice. Can't shift. I'm useless to you. She tore the page and shoved it at him. Dante read it. He crumpled the paper and threw it across the room. Useless? Dante laughed, harsh, dry. You just took down a feral in 4-inch heels. You saved my life tonight. Again. You saved me from the silver bullet last week. He grabbed her shoulders. You're not broken, Kira. You're the strongest thing I've ever known. Kira looked at him, confusion warring with hope. But why? Dante asked, searching her eyes. Why take the job as a maid? Why not come to me as an equal? I would have given you half my kingdom. Kira picked up the pen. Her hand shook. I needed money for Mia, my sister. She's dying. I didn't want charity. I wanted to earn it. And I was afraid you'd see me as broken. Dante read the note. His expression softened profoundly. Mia, the clinic in California. Kira nodded. I bought that clinic 3 days ago, Dante said casually. Kira's jaw dropped. I was investigating you. I saw the payments. I bought the facility to ensure the patient got the best care. I didn't know she was your sister. I just knew my maid was sending 90% of her paycheck there. He stood, pulling Kira to her feet. You're not a servant. Not anymore. He cupped her face. The tension that had been building for weeks, the scent of rain, the shared glances, the saving of lives, crashed into them. Dante lowered his head and kissed her. Not gentle. An alpha's claim. Possessive, desperate, filled with 6 years of longing. Kira melted into him, hands gripping his shirt lapels. For a moment she forgot the scar, forgot the silence. She felt whole. But the moment shattered by Dante's, phone ringing. Dante pulled back, breathless, forehead resting against hers. Ignore it. It rang again. Again. It's the emergency line, Dante groaned. He walked to the desk and picked up. What? His face went pale. All warmth drained from the room. He looked at Kira, eyes wide with horror. Kira, he said, voice hollow. It's the clinic. Kira froze. Victor Kane, Dante said, gripping the phone until plastic cracked. He's at the clinic. He has Mia. Kira's world stopped. The notepad fell from her hand. Dante put the phone on speaker. Hello, Dante. Victor's voice oozed through. And hello to the little Phantom Wolf. I know you're listening. I remember that scar. Pity I didn't cut deeper the first time. Kira made a sound, choked, guttural cry of pure anguish. Here's the deal, Victor continued. I want the Ashford territory. All of it. Codes, assets, land. You have until dawn to sign it over. If you don't, Emily gets a scar just like her big sister's. Only hers. Will be fatal. The line went dead. Kira stood paralyzed. Then a change came over her. Tears stopped. Trembling stopped. She looked at Dante. The warmth was gone from her eyes, replaced by cold steel resolve. The eyes of the Phantom Wolf. She walked to the desk, picked up the silver letter opener, the same one she'd used to save him, and slammed it into the wood. She wrote one word, carving it into the mahogany. War. Dante looked at the word, then at her. He saw the shift in her stance. She wasn't the maid anymore. She wasn't even the broken girl. She was the predator that had slaughtered 25 wolves in the snow. Dante smiled. Dark. Terrifying. Marcus! He yelled, voice shaking the walls. Ready the jet. Unlock the armory. All of it. He turned to Kira. Let's go hunt. The clinic was nestled in a valley, now dusted with snow. Eerily quiet. Dante and Marcus, flanked by Ashford elites, launched the assault on the main gate. Explosions rocked the night. Gunfire erupted immediately, while chaos unfolded at the front, a shadow detached from the tree line at the rear. Kira moved like ink through water. She scaled the drainpipe, muscles screaming but holding. She reached the roof. Silver nitrate sprayers hissed, coating the roof in toxic fog. Kira held her breath, pulling her gas mask tight. It burned her skin slightly, but she was in human form. Effect was lessened. She found the vent, unscrewed the grate with her knife, slipped inside. The ventilation system was claustrophobic metal tunnels. Kira crawled on elbows and knees, counting turns she'd memorized from blueprints. Below, she could hear muffled sounds of battle outside. Dante was fighting. She had to hurry. She reached the grate above intensive care, peered down. The room was sterile white. In the center, hooked to machines, was Mia. Her little sister looked so small, skin translucent. Standing over her was Victor Kane, holding a remote detonator. "Come on, Dante." Victor muttered to himself, watching security monitors. "Come through the front door like a good hero." Kira didn't make a sound. She carefully unlatched the vent. Dropped. She landed behind medical equipment, silent as snowfall. Victor didn't turn. Too focused on the screen where Dante's team was breaching the lobby. Kira crept forward, the blade in her right hand reversed for a lethal strike. 10 feet away. 5. Suddenly the elevator dinged. Victor spun, startled. Kira lunged, but Victor was an alpha. His reflexes were faster. He saw the blur of movement and threw himself backward. The blade missed his jugular, slicing deep across his chest instead. "You!" Victor roared, clutching his chest. He scrambled back, hit the alarm. Red lights flashed. Steel shutters slammed over windows and doors, sealing the room. "So," Victor sneered, blood leaking between fingers. "The mute maid. I should have known." Kira stood between Victor and Mia's bed, twirling knives, stance wide. "You can't beat me in human form, little girl," Victor laughed, eyes glowing red. "And you can't shift. I know about your injury. You're just meat." Victor began to shift, bones cracking, reshaping, fur sprouting. He grew into massive, mangy gray wolf, snarling, drool, dripping. Kira stood her ground. She was 120 pounds against 400 pounds of supernatural predator. She tapped her throat mic 3 times. "Danger." "Kira!" Dante's voice exploded in her earpiece. "I'm at the elevator. It's sealed. I can't get in." The wolf lunged. Kira slid underneath the bed, massive jaws snapping at her heels. She rolled out the other side, slashing his hind leg. The blade cut deep, but the wolf barely flinched. He spun, tail whipping her across the face, sending her crashing into the EKG machine. Sparks flew. Kira groaned, tasting blood. The wolf prowled toward her. He wasn't rushing. He was playing. Kira looked at Mia, still unconscious, unaware of the monster. "I need more power. I need..." The ghost. The wolf pounced. Kira didn't dodge. She grabbed a canister of liquid nitrogen from the medical cart and smashed the valve off, spraying freezing gas into the wolf's face. Victor howled, confused, pained, blinded momentarily. Kira scrambled onto his back. Suicidal move. She wrapped legs around his torso, drove both knives into his shoulders, trying to sever muscle. The wolf thrashed violently. He slammed his back against the wall, crushing Kira between spine and concrete. Air left her lungs. Ribs cracked. She fell, gasping, vision blurring. Victor shook himself, dislodging knives. He transformed back to human, naked, bleeding but healing fast. He walked over, kicked the knives away. "Valiant effort," Victor panted, "but pathetic." He grabbed her by the throat right over the scar, lifted her off the ground. "Dante!" Victor shouted at the sealed door. "Can you hear me? I have her." "Let her go, Victor, or I will flay you alive." Dante's voice came through, muffled but terrified. "Open the door and surrender, and maybe I'll let her live," Victor taunted. He squeezed. Kira clawed at his hands, air cutting off. Pressure on her scar was agony, like the silver blade all over again. Mia, she thought. Dante. As black spots danced in her vision, something snapped. Not a bone, a barrier. The mental wall she'd built around her wolf, made of trauma, silence, fear, cracked under the pressure of her need to protect her pack. Deep in her chest, a spark ignited. Not weak, thready voice from before. A roar. Victor frowned. He felt heat radiating from her skin. "What?" Kira's eyes rolled back, then snapped forward. They weren't brown anymore. They were glowing, incandescent silver. Heat in the room spiked. Temperature rose so fast the frost from liquid nitrogen hissed and evaporated. Victor dropped Kira, stumbling back. "Impossible! You're broken!" Kira landed on her feet. She didn't gasp for air. She growled, and this time the growl came from her very soul. Her body contorted. The shift was violent, instantaneous. One moment, woman in stealth suit. Next, blinding flash of white light. When light faded, a wolf stood in the center of the room. Not just a wolf. The phantom wolf. She was pure silver like moonlight, but larger than before. Her fur bristled with energy, small arcs of static jumping between strands. And where the scar had been on her human neck, there was now a band of white fur shimmering like a collar of light. "No," Victor whispered, backing into equipment. Outside the door, Dante stopped hammering. He felt it, surge of power like a reactor going online. "Kira," Dante whispered. The phantom wolf looked at the sealed door, then at Victor. Victor panicked. He scrambled for the detonator. "I'll blow us all up!" He lunged for the remote. Kira moved. She was a blur of silver motion. Before Victor's hand could touch plastic, her jaws clamped around his forearm. "Crunch!" Victor screamed as bone shattered. Kira whipped her head, tossing him across the room like a rag doll. He smashed into reinforced glass, spiderwebbing it. Victor tried to rise, tried to shift, but Kira was on him. She pinned him, massive paws on his chest. She lowered her muzzle to his face, bearing fangs dangerously long. She growled, sound so deep it vibrated fillings in Victor's teeth. Victor looked into her eyes and saw no mercy. Saw cold logic of apex predator. "Wait," Victor gurgled. "I surrender. The council. The laws." Kira didn't care about council. She cared about the sister he'd threatened. The mate he'd tried to kill. She snapped her jaws. Silence fell. Kira stepped back from the body. Turned to the bed, nudging Mia's hand with her wet nose. Mia stirred, heart monitor steadying. Kira turned to the sealed door. She reared up, raked claws against steel. "Screech!" "Get the thermite," Dante yelled. "Blow the hinges." Boom. Heavy doors fell, inward. Dante rushed in, gun raised, Marcus behind him. They stopped. Dante lowered his weapon. He looked at the carnage, shattered glass, Victor Kane's body, and the silver wolf standing guard over the hospital bed. Kira looked at Dante. She dipped her head low, gesture of recognition and respect. Dante walked toward her slowly, holstering his gun. He dropped to his knees in front of her, ignoring blood on the floor. "You came back," he whispered, tears mixing with sweat on his face. "You really came back." Kira whined softly. She licked blood from his cheek. Dante buried his hands in her thick silver fur. "I've got you. I've got Mia. It's over." The spring equinox ball was held in the garden of the rebuilt Ashford estate. outdoor affair under starlight. Dante stood by the fountain holding champagne. He looked better, younger. The stress lines that had defined him for 6 years were gone. Mia was there in a wheelchair, still recovering, but laughing, surrounded by young wolves vying for her attention. "She looks happy," a voice said beside him. Dante turned. Kira stood there in a dress of midnight blue that shimmered like night sky. But the most important change wasn't the dress. It was her voice. Raspy, deep, rough like gravel over velvet. But there, the shift had regenerated scar tissue, restoring 80% of vocal function. "She is happy," Dante said, wrapping an arm around Kira's waist. "Because she's safe." "We're all safe," Kira rasped, leaning into his touch. Guests parted as they walked toward the dance floor. People stared, whispered. "That's her. The one who killed Cain. The one who never speaks unless to give an order." Kira didn't care about whispers. She only cared about the man holding her. Dante pulled her close for a slow dance. "You know," he murmured in her ear. "We never finished our conversation from that night I hired you." Kira looked up, raising an eyebrow. "Which one?" "The one where I asked why you weren't afraid of me." Kira smiled. Rare, radiant thing that lit up her face. "I wasn't afraid," she said, voice halting but strong, "because I knew your heart. I heard it beating in the snow 6 years ago. It beats for the pack. It beats for me." Dante kissed her forehead. "It beats only for you." He spun her around, and for the first time in her life, Kira didn't feel like a ghost. She didn't feel invisible. She felt seen, heard. She was the alpha's mate. She was the phantom wolf, and she was finally home. Somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled at the moon, a sound of pure joy.